Stephen, as always, it's a delight to have you with us on the Great America Show. I want to start with first, we haven't spoken in some time, Russia collusion. It turns out Russia collusion wasn't just a hoax. Well, it was a hoax for the Marxist Dems who blamed Donald Trump. You know, we can't relive the story every single time. But it turns out the Russia collusion was on the side of the Marxist Dems for the last 10 years and not exactly on the side of Donald Trump as they told us it was.
Yeah, I was reading just this morning that it looks like they are going to try to pull in the very top people connected to Obama, including Barack Obama. Now, from what I'm reading, they don't believe they're going to get Obama, but that doesn't mean they're not going to put him through the hell of lawsuits, discovery, shaming him, embarrassing him. This is a guy that needs to have his reputation brought out into the light and shown that he tried to circumvent or go around the American voter, number one, but also our favorite president, Donald Trump. And now you've got the former director of national intelligence, now head of the CIA, John Ratcliffe. He was on Fox News saying, we're not at all worried about the time frame on this because the John Durham report came out just a couple years ago. In fact, we're going to declassify the stuff that he wasn't allowed to talk about. We're making it all public, which means we can pull in Hillary Clinton, Obama, Brennan, Comey, all of them. We're going to put them through the ringer. I'm excited to see all of it.
Yeah, I want to hear from John Durham again, too, because, you know, we got that report from him. And to me, it was a total bunch of BS. We got no indictments out of it. We learned, absolutely nothing, but we know everything that's come out now, Stephen, people have known for years. You and I have known on the surface of what it is, but the people around Trump and the people in the DNI office and in the three-letter agencies knew all of this years ago, which makes me believe that John Ratcliffe, that John Durham, and the rest of the folks knew what was going on then. We're now sitting here 10 years later, and we're finally getting to the bottom of it. It just doesn't add up to me. What do you think?
Well, the very report that they're now using to link all the top people and pull the thread back to Obama, that was a report that was buried in a safe within a safe at CIA headquarters. So they're just now discovering that. It did come out in 2020, but they immediately hid it. Biden's team purposely covered all of that up. So they're finding things in locked rooms. They're finding things in safes, but they're also using AI technology to comb through all of the data. And that's how they're putting all of this together. But I, for one, would love to see Hillary Clinton in handcuffs. I would love to see Obama brought in. I don't believe they're going to get Obama, but if you can destroy his reputation, just like they're going to do to Joe Biden, I'm here for it.
What's his name? David Schoen, I believe, was Epstein's former attorney. He represented President Trump for his impeachment. He came out and said the other day that if Obama's to be impeached, that whole immunity deal from the Supreme Court, which Donald Trump got, that a president is immune from prosecution for mostly everything, I guess you can say. But that immunity deal goes out the window if he's impeached on these grounds.
The underlying intelligence that I have spent the last few months making recommendations about final declassification and sent that to the Department of Justice that will come out in the John Durham report classified annex. And what that intelligence shows, Maria, is that part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and burying the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to. And you're right, Maria. John Brennan testified to John Durham in August of 2020. He also testified to the House Oversight Committee in 2022. Hillary Clinton testified before John Durham under oath in 2022. James Comey testified before the Senate committee in September 2020. All of that's within the last 5 years. And much of that testimony is, frankly, completely inconsistent with what our underlying intelligence that is about to be declassified in the Durham Annex, what that reflects.
Ratcliffe also explaining why he believes these former officials will not be protected by the statute of limitations.
I'll leave it to Pam Bondi and our Department of Justice, Kash Patel, and our FBI to investigate the conspiracy to do what and what charges that they're capable of bringing. But again, I don't think statute of limitations are going to impact, because in a conspiracy, Maria, the statute of limitation doesn't start to run until the last act in furtherance of that conspiracy.
I want to see some heads roll. I'm just so tired of so many people skating by, and we'll peg it on a little low-level staffer who nobody knows or cares about. We'll make it look like it's a massive indictment, and at the end of the day, it's just a slap on the wrist when everyone forgets and is not paying attention. You know, they go through their court proceeding, and it's a slap on the wrist. Do you think we'll actually get some justice out of this? Because the thing is, Stephen, is this wasn't done by low-level people. We know this was done by Barack Hussein. We know this was done by Hillary Rotten Clinton. We know this was done by the top of the top of the top. I think the American people aren't going to tolerate some little low-level staffer going down for this.
I think the highest we might get would be James Comey and John Brennan.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, the former head of the FBI, corrupt. Former head of the CIA, corrupt. I don't know that you're going to get Hillary Clinton. And some of this comes down to money. Yeah. James Comey, Brennan, yeah, they went on to make really good money after leaving the government, but they don't have the kind of money to defend themselves. I mean, the Trump family spent $500 million in legal fees. So you might have Obama and Hillary. They might be able to be protected as former Secretary of State, former president, but they're going to drain them financially, I believe.
You know what? At a worst, like I said, I'm optimistic on everything that's happening, but I can only be pessimistic when it comes to indictments, just based on not me knowing anything, not me being Pollyannic, but just based on what we've seen in the past. And people are going to say, oh, stop being so negative. It's hard to not be negative when we've watched everything that's gone on the last 10 years and we have nothing to show for accountability-wise. These people who tried to overthrow not just a sitting president, not a presidential frontrunner, but I mean, a decent man who's done nothing but good for this country. That's what keeps me up at night. If there was anything that kept me up at night.
Yeah, I mean, the media is just so unfair when it comes to Donald Trump. Yeah. Joe Biden spent over 40% of his presidency on vacation. Now we know they were just hiding his mental decline. But, Donald Trump goes golfing for a couple hours with his grandchildren in Scotland. And they're like, who's running the country? Who's protecting America? Talk about keep America great. You're not even working for us. Meanwhile, he's closing a $1 trillion European Union deal, the biggest deal in world history. And the guy can't take a break to golf with his grandkids. Give me a break.
So let's turn to that. Under these terms, this EU deal that President Trump just did with the EU leader, Ursula von der Leyen, they've agreed to buy $750 billion worth the energy from the United States. Additionally, the European Union will make $600 billion in investments in the U.S. and will purchase hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military equipment. European goods coming into the United States will have a 15% tariff. The EU, guess what it is, Stephen? Take a guess.
Zero.
So, it's not the 50, 60, 70% that President Trump originally had on them. But you know what? That balance of 15-0 in our favor is probably the greatest tariff win this country has seen between America and the European Union in the history of the country.
Yeah, it is a fantastic deal. The European Union has been taking advantage of the United States for many years. As I've covered the news for the last 5+ years, I've noticed, wait a minute, we do a lot for them. They're not doing very much for us. I mean, right now, we've spent over $200 billion of hard-earned American taxpayer money for a war in Ukraine we didn't start. We literally get nothing from. It didn't trigger the NATO clause to defend them. So we've done a lot, and yet you find out that Zelensky's been stealing money. His top people are stealing money. Over 50% of the weapons aren't even making it there. Now they're being sold on the black market. So I think that this is a fantastic deal. It also didn't hurt that, Joe Biden blew up the Nord Stream pipeline and then tried to blame it on Putin as if he would blow up his own $1 billion pipeline. Yeah. So, yeah, Europe is in trouble. They need the United States. If we can at least make money off of them, this is what George Washington told us to do. As he's the president of the United States, he said, stay out of their wars and only trade with them. Donald Trump is trying to get back to George Washington's counsel.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yet, as you said it exactly right. Okay, he goes out and plays a round of golf. The man doesn't really go on vacation. Barack Hussein, even when he was president, he'd go down to Hawaii, he'd go here, he'd go there. They give Donald Trump a hard time about going to play golf at his Washington, D.C. golf course. So, you know what? It is what it is. I don't care if he vacations 300 days a year, if he's got this economy, if he's got America going the way it was. You wouldn't hear anybody talking about Joe Biden's vacation to Rehoboth Beach if he was doing a good job. Recently, we had the Epstein blow up, which now looks like we're going to maybe get something out of it. Are you as optimistic as most are?
Well, my understanding is that Roger Stone secretly met with President Trump over the last week in the White House every single day, going over all of the aspects of the Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the main holdup there is you've got names, but they are buried in a sealed grand jury from the Southern District of New York. So I don't know that we're going to get that. I also don't know what's in there. They just had Ghislaine Maxwell testify for multiple hours over a 2-day period. They said that she laid out all of the details, the backstory, the context, people involved, over 100 names. I've let my audience know. That doesn't mean it's 100 elite pedophile. Like, we don't know who those names are. They could be talking about the waiter at his favorite restaurant, and they go talk to that person. So I believe that Donald Trump is trying to get to the bottom of this. I think the problem with Epstein is no matter what the truth is, it's not going to make everybody happy, because this is a very deep rabbit hole. And because it's so dark, the violation of young people, trafficking, tricking, manipulation, I just don't know that anyone's ever going to be happy. But I do see Donald J. Trump doing his best to get all of the information out there, despite the fact that they're dragging his name through the mud every single day. What if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? That's right. Imagine putting those 2 payments in your pocket and finally getting a little breathing room. It's possible when you call American Financing today. If you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas, bills piling up, you're not alone. Most Americans are putting these expenses on a credit card, and there doesn't seem to be a way out. American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off your debt. You need to call American Financing today before you get to a point where you can't make these payments. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans and consolidate debt, all without upfront fees. And their customers are saving on average $800 a month. That's like a $10,000 a year raise by being smarter with your money. It's fast, it's simple, and it could save your budget this summer. Call now before it's late at 888-686-8030. That's 888-686-8030, or visit americanfinancing.net/Gardner.
Yeah, he's used to it by now, though. I don't think he really cares about saving name or saving face, because no matter what he does, the guy can walk on water, and they'd say he's wearing inflatable shoes. These people don't. It doesn't matter what he does. At the end, the
left is so disgusting. They're now trying to connect Melania Trump to trafficking, saying, well, if Ghislaine Maxwell was the head trafficker for Epstein, maybe Melania from a former Russian country, maybe she's the trafficker for his sick. I mean, I'm telling you, this is a deep, dark rabbit hole that I don't know will ever get all the light down there to clean this thing out. But I don't believe that Trump was involved in this sick stuff. And, Roger, he just posted that someone found out that he was in D.C. helping Donald Trump. What did they do? Instead of thanking him, they literally poisoned his dogs. I mean, there's just some sickos out there.
Roger's a great man. By the way, he'll be on the show with me here tomorrow. Roger's been going through his own issues. I talk to Roger almost every single day. We text back and forth. his own issues at home. The last thing he needs, dealing with his wife's health, the last thing he needs is someone trying to kill his dogs. I mean, people are just absolutely sick. Everything now. So it seems we've gotten past this. I think we'll get some stuff out of the Epstein documents. Like you said, I don't think we're going to get proof and evidence that Bill Clinton was on that island, even though we all know he was. I don't think we're going to get evidence that Prince, I forget which one it is, Andrew. I don't want to say the wrong one and defame somebody. I mean, even though by every single account, everyone says the man has been there, I don't think we'll get evidence that he did X, Y, and Z with X, Y, and Z. So, I don't know. I think you're absolutely right as it pertains to the American people being sufficient with what we get out of it. But I do hope that we get something out of it, because this is what I keep saying, and I sound like a broken record. There's no way the FBI raided this man's apartments and houses, took terabytes worth of data, and all they found is child pornography downloaded from websites and just Ghislaine Maxwell in jail and this man dead. It just doesn't pass the smell test for me. That's all I say about it.
Let me ask you this. Do you think part of the reason that Joe Biden ordered the raid on Donald Trump's home, where they went through Barron's room, Melania's underwear drawer, everywhere, they set up these fake photos to embarrass him as if he was just so sloppy with don't you think that they were maybe looking for documents related to the Russiagate story? Why else would they be specifically looking for documents? They knew that this was coming down the pipe, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I think they wanted to see where he was at on it. But then it takes you to the question that I keep asking myself. If he had these documents and he knew what was going on back then, John Ratcliffe was his DNI. Why did he not have this out? And, I've asked multiple people about this, and they're like, well, the documents were hidden. Well, then I asked you, why were the documents existent?
Yeah, well, one thought that I have is, John Brennan and James Comey, they've shown themselves to kind of be skillless human beings. So they're using a bunch of lower level people. Well, those lower level people are in the report. 20 CIA and FBI people saying, we didn't feel comfortable with this. We felt threatened, like we would lose our job, like maybe our family safety wasn't there. And so we kept quiet, but we can't keep quiet anymore. And, they were under oath to tell the truth about that. That's where that report came from. And then they buried that report. So I do believe that there were people that wanted to come forward. But when there's this giant national narrative, and you're just a lower level CIA, like, who's going to believe you? We've seen whistleblowers get steamrolled. I don't know if you know Tony Schaefer, but he came forward. He literally knew that 9/11 was going to happen. They had all of the Al-Qaeda cells on this giant map. And what happened? Clinton and Bush told him, make it go away, but don't go after anybody. So the government is the government's own biggest problem.
We're overseas fighting wars everywhere. We have bases everywhere here and there. We have a war going on in our country, just a few hundred miles south of you, just about 1,000 miles, a little bit more than 1,000 miles south of me. We're back home in New York at our southern border. I would feel a lot better at night knowing that our troops, our brothers, our sisters, our children, our aunts, uncles, fathers, parents, whatever they are, be stationed at our southern border fighting a war against people that I know we can, number one, beat. Be the first war we won in a very long time. I often ask former military guys on the show, when's the last war we won? A lot of them have a hard time answering the question, as it's sort of a gray area the last time I ever go. But we can fight a war right now at our southern border. Put these guys on the border of Mexico. Send them into Mexico. I mean, do whatever you have to do to stop this war, this invasion. And I'm not just talking about the human invasion. I'm talking about the drug invasion that takes over 100,000 people each year. From the deaths of fentanyl and overdoses. That's a war that needs to be fought. That's a war that should be fought starting tomorrow.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked about RFK Jr. when he was running, and I hope this message gets back to Trump somehow, or at least in some way, but I don't know that it will. Why do we have 900 military bases around the world? Why are we trying to control the entire population of planet Earth? Why are we getting into everyone's battles? Why is it always American tax money that is covering everybody else? Like when Trump pulled the money and the weapons, suddenly Europe wanted to end the Russia-Ukraine war. Then he turned it back on. They wanted to go to war again, right? Like, everyone's willing to go to war. as long as American taxpayers pay for it. So I think we call home the troops, we make America strong, we become the dominant economic motor of the entire planet, and we dominate through economics, not through missiles. And I think it would work. That was the RFK Jr. message that resonated with me even more than Maha. But now, I want both of those. But I can see how Trump is trying to clean it up. At the same time, he's like, well, I guess if other nations will pitch into NATO, then we can start doing more weapons to Ukraine. It's like, no, cut off the weapons, cut off the money, cut off the war, and this thing goes away. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not in D.C., so I'm just an armchair quarterback. But sometimes you need somebody with a really common sense, everyday American point of view to go, we don't live like you, so we don't think like you. And I don't know, maybe some more of those people should be brought in to the Oval Office every now and then.
Yeah, it would be nice. The military-industrial complex folks, Tom Cottons of the world, the Lindsey Grahams of the world, who just don't care at what cost the war is. They're just happy to be there. And you look at where they get their money, and I tell the audience all the time, opensecrets.org. If you have any questions about where your senators or members of Congress are getting their money, opensecrets.org will tell you every institution they're getting their money from, where their biggest donations come from, what complexes, what industries it all comes from. You don't have to take my word for it. Go look for yourself. I think you're going to be very surprised. Some of your Republicans, I'm not even talking about Democrats, because those people are so beyond corrupt that what you see on Open Secrets is probably only a small fraction of where they're really getting their money with the straw donors and all that fun stuff they play. But I'm talking about Republicans, because they're bigger war hawks perhaps than anybody. And it's not just any Republicans, it's the rhinos and the establishment folks that nobody calls out, Stephen.
You know who we need to really do a deep dive on Epstein and government corruption? Ricky Gervais. I mean, remember when he hosted the Oscars and he just ripped those people in Hollywood apart? He was like, listen, you guys are so desperate for work that if Al-Qaeda had a casting call, you would be on their couch. Like, we need somebody that has the balls and the humor to go in and just start pointing out all of the stupidity. But yes, you're right. I love Donald Trump, but why are you endorsing Lindsey Graham? He is a piece of crap. He betrays you all of the time. Why is Tom Cotton allowed to try to put in new legislation to shut DNI Tulsi Gabbard down from sharing classified information that proves the Democrats are corrupt? Like, get this information out into the sunlight, please.
Yeah, they don't. It's all a little pay-to-play scheme, and they all partake in it. Let's talk about RFK, because he's a man, one of the few people actually I admire. There's not many people I admire politics-wise, but he's one of the people in the realm of politics that I admire, because he doesn't care. He when he came out and endorsed Donald Trump, he risked losing it all, including his wife, his kids, his family, who hate Donald Trump, by the way. Hate's a very strong word, but they hate him. He risked it all. He didn't care, though. He knew he wasn't becoming vice president. He knew he wanted a job somewhere in the health field or whatever, and he got what he wanted. And he's a man who gave up everything to have what he has right now. The job he's doing, I think, is absolutely remarkable. He deserves to be commended immensely. Just some of the things we're seeing. You pick up your bottle of Coca-Cola and you see high fructose corn syrup in it. And it took RFK Jr. to come in and say, this is poison. First of all, everybody knows it. Why is it still in the soda? And you got Coca-Cola. Oh, sorry about that. We'll have it out of there in about 6 months. Well, why is nobody asking? Why nobody has said anything about it in the first place? And number two, how it got in there from the first place? Like, am I just brain dead? Or, I mean, am I making a valiant point? Because it's like nobody's asking these questions.
Well, businesses are going to do whatever is best for businesses. If you're going to outsource your enjoyment of what you drink or cheap food at McDonald's, they're going to supply you something that can make a buck, and they're not too worried about it. I mean, for heaven's sakes, chicken nuggets used to be over 50% pink slime that had ammonia in it so that people wouldn't get sick. But it turns out you get sick if you eat ammonia. So, like, somebody had to call these people to the carpet. RFK Jr., he's doing a great job. When he says that he prayed to his God every day for 20 years to be in a position to influence American health, I believe him. And now I don't think he's wasting this opportunity. And you know what really pisses me off is, you know, they approved this new Spikevax COVID vaccine for children, right? I was like, wait a minute. 30 days ago, RFK Jr. removed this, something that they couldn't force onto children. Then I find out they actually, they approved it behind his back. The first time he takes a vacation, what did they do? They release this garbage against the American children. Like, stop poisoning our children. Well, now those people have been fired. RFK Jr.'s trying to claw that back. But I mean, as soon as he turns his back, the deep state, corporate capture, big pharma, big food, big poison, big chemical, they're all going to come in. That was a Freudian slip. Big chemical. They're all going to come in and try to push back. The Empire strikes back. If we've learned nothing from the Star Wars series, they always strike back. And he is fighting tooth and nail.
Yeah, I think you're right. Before you wrap up, I want to get your take. We just passed the 6 month, just a little bit past the 6 month marker of President Trump in office. How would you grade his performance so far if he's your student in a classroom?
He's doing good. I had a guest that I really respect. I had my MAGA hat on, and this person said to me, "You still think Make America Great is a thing?" I said, yeah. What I've learned from covering politics for over 5 years now is there's over 500 people in Congress with 500 different brains, 500 different goals, and you need a really strong leader to try to wrangle these people and point them in the right direction. I feel like Trump is doing a great thing. To expect every part of his agenda to get through, I believe, is a little bit fantasy, but he has gotten so much done. Look at all the tariffs coming in, to the point where he's like, maybe we should share some of this with lower income families. They could probably use a break from Biden's inflation. I mean, one thing that he's not getting credit for, everybody's so focused on Epstein. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel have taken so many pedophiles off of the street. They just busted this huge network that had over 100,000 members that were buying these sicko pictures of children online. They get no credit because people care more about Epstein. So every department that Trump is involved in, everything is getting better. The one area that I do wish is, like, let's get this Israel-Gaza thing done, and let's get this Russia-Ukraine thing done. And I think part of that is cutting off the money.
Yeah, you're 100% right. By the way, this is the first time I know you for, year now, whatever it's been. I finally heard you tell a lie. You said there was 500 people in Washington, D.C. in Congress with a brain. I would boil that down to about 50 to 100, something like that. I think you just gave 500 people way too much credibility for what they're really working with their sub 100 IQs, I'd say.
You got me there.
Stephen Gardner, the host of the Stephen Gardner Show, wildly popular show. Millions of people tune into Stephen each.
Just crossed 2 million.
Congratulations! You've been waiting for that. Congratulations! An awesome achievement. You do a great job in it. I think the people obviously agree with me. At least a few million of them who tune into your show each and every week. Steve, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much, brother.
Thank you.